Hey, Restore Hearts family. This is the voice of your host and producer, Tiara Sharma. And I am so excited that you have joined me today to continue our lesson on mending mother-daughter relationships, a daughter's journey. What's so special about today is that we have made it to our fourth and final letter of the acronym AFAR. That is AFAR. AFAR is the process that we have been using during these past few weeks to help jumpstart our healing journey of mending our mother-daughter relationships. And so if you have made it this far in the journey, I just want you to stop, take a deep breath, and give yourself a clap. Just clap for yourself right now. Because remember that I told you at the beginning of this journey that you were going to need courage to sit and acknowledge those difficult emotions that you have to address during this journey, and that you would need discipline to sit through those uncomfortable emotions that arise, because you definitely get distracted and that temptation comes to take you off course. So if you have been faithful, if you've been disciplined, if you've been courageous during this journey so far and you have made it to the end, I salute you. It speaks volumes of your character, and it speaks volumes of your determination to do the work that is necessary to mend the relationships. We're talking about mother-daughter relationships, but this is foundational for every relationship that you want to mend in your life. So you are on your way. R stands for retrain. Retraining your thoughts and emotions is the critical final step in the cycle. You must learn to think new thoughts, which produce new emotions that lead to positive self-loving behaviors. Note that you will undoubtedly return to your old way of thinking, feeling, and behaving without retraining your mind. So everything that we did before now, which was acknowledge, forgive, become aware of our thoughts and emotions, how they affect our behavior. Everything that we did before now was about letting go of the old. But once you let go of the old, you have to replace it with something new. And that's where the retraining comes in. Retraining is the process of setting new internal boundaries, developing healthy self-talk, and learning to speak to yourself differently. So the question is, what are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to yourself? And then what should you be saying to yourself? So remember, during this past few weeks, I used that letter that I wrote to my mother as the foundation of my examples for using this process of AFAR. As we've done previously, I'm going to give you some examples of what we should do to retrain our minds, the type of things we should be saying to ourselves as we're retraining our thoughts, as we're retraining our emotions and our behaviors. What are some things that we can say to ourselves? Some declarations, affirmations. I use scriptures. So it's a combination of these things that I do as I'm retraining my mind in order to start to build this new belief system that I want to have. The first thing is God cares about everything that I am going through. I have to remind myself of that, because there was a time where I didn't believe that God cared about what I was going through. So that's fundamental for me to understand during this journey, because as things come up, I need to know that He cares about what I'm going through. The days ahead of me will be better than the days behind me. That's your hope for a future that the Lord promised us. God is always with me, and He will never abandon me. This is important to retrain your mind to understand, because if you have trauma experiences in the relationship that make you feel abandoned in the relationship with your mother, then we have to know that it may be true that your mother literally abandoned you physically or emotionally or both. But now we're retraining ourselves so that we have a new foundation. And that foundation is on the Word of God, because that's what's going to anchor us. Even the best of us have flaws and will not always be able to, unfortunately, uphold those promises and commitments that we make. That's why we want to try to let our yeses be yes and our nos be nos. But if that is an experience that you've had with your mother, then it's going to be important that we feel that void of abandonment that you feel with your mother and insert what God said, which is that He would never abandon us. He'd never leave us. And so that's going to help as you are building that relationship back up with your mother so that you're not triggered. I don't keep secrets. I take all of my problems to God. I do not hide from Him. It is safe for me to feel emotions. I give myself permission to feel and process my emotions without judgment. These last two statements that I read, they go hand in hand, because remember I talked about, for me, that was one of the things that kept my relationship with my mother kind of disconnected, is the fact that I learned to hide my emotions from her. And so me feeling like I had to hide and keep secrets from her, that really started to put a strain on the relationship as I grew older. And she was not a safe place for me to come and express my emotions, because I had hidden my thoughts and emotions from her. So as I am rebuilding this relationship, I have to know that it is safe for me to feel emotions, and giving myself that permission to feel the process of my emotions without judgment. And I believe from my experience that started with God. Once I did it with God, I stopped hiding from God. It was easier for me to stop hiding from my mother. It was easier for me to stop hiding from my husband. It was easier for me to stop hiding from difficult conversations that would come up. So it's all interconnected. Tiara, it is okay for you to say no to people's requests. You are not the solution to everyone's problems. I give myself permission to say no. I choose to stay present in moments that challenge me to grow up emotionally. I will not avoid uncomfortable conversations or hide in agreement or silence to keep the peace. Now I want to stop right there, because I think that is very important for us to highlight. I will not avoid uncomfortable conversations or hide in agreement or silence to keep the peace. The reason I want to stop there is because there are going to be times where it is appropriate to come into agreement, but that's after you've talked to the person, or maybe even to stay silent, because the other person may need some time to think about it. You may need some time to think about what's being said or what you're feeling. But if that is your normal, to avoid uncomfortable conversations, then that's where it becomes dysfunctional behavior, because now you just get to hide. You never really open up and speak truthfully about what you think and how you feel. And so you're coming into agreement with things that you don't believe, and that will cause a lot of confusion and chaos in your relationship, because your behavior is a direct reflection of how you think and feel. So if you're agreeing with your mouth with something that you don't believe, your behavior will be off, and that will cause some confusion in the relationship. So we must interrupt that cycle, and you must take, once again, that courage. It takes courage to sit in those uncomfortable emotions, in those uncomfortable situations, respectfully, of course, with your mother or even with yourself, to just uncover all of these things that are coming up. I am not a victim. I choose to take authority over my emotions. I choose to speak life over myself and my circumstances. I am joy. I am peace. doctor has given me is a temporary challenge in my mind and my body. I am healed. I come out of agreement with the lie that I am my diagnosis. I separate my identity from the diagnosis I have been given. I accept the identity that has been given to me by God through Jesus Christ. So that was important for me. That was a long statement, but very important for me, especially if you are having a diagnosis. So around this time where I started this journey, I had had a previous diagnosis of depression, perinatal anxiety, and then I was also having suicidal thoughts. So it is important that you understand that you are not your diagnosis. If you're not careful with your words, remember we talked about our words and had a statement on that not too long ago. Your words are very powerful. And so if you are not careful, you will find yourself agreeing and bringing your identity into your diagnosis and meshing the two. And that will make it hard for you to receive the healing that is available to you through Christ Jesus. Because once you believe you are the thing, you will hold on to the thing. So saying things like, I am depressed, I am anxious, I am suicidal. The I am statement literally meshes your identity with the thing that you are speaking over yourself. So what we want to do is learn new language. So instead of saying I am depressed, you could say I am having feelings of depression. See the difference? Or I am having feelings of anxiety. I am challenged with a diagnosis of depression right now. And that way you can learn to see the diagnosis as being separate from yourself. What can I do to help in this process? Because there is a requirement on your part. I am not responsible for my mother's emotions or finances. I give myself permission to separate from the relationship in this way. I give myself permission to have emotions and finances that are separate from my mother's needs. I give myself permission to be the priority in my life. I am important and I choose to take care of myself. Taking care of my spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, intellectual, relational, and financial needs is a priority for me. During the retraining process, it is so important that you reject common sayings that keep you in emotional bondage. There are a lot of things that we say out of habit, out of tradition, out of just blindly speaking. But this is a time where you really have to pay attention to what you are saying. Because remember, we just threw away all of those old things, all of those old thoughts, emotions, behaviors that were preventing us from having healthy relationships with our mothers. And so now we're replacing them. And because you have been programmed with those old things for so long, they will try to come back. So we have to be aware of that and reject those common sayings that keep you in emotional bondage. So I want to give you a couple of examples of what that can sound like as you're going through this process. Number one, no one cares about me. That's a lie. I need you to reject that. Even if no one in the natural cares about you, God tells us that He cares about us. He cares about everything concerning us. And when we give it to Him, He will give us people for our lives, people who will be concerned about us. Number two, no one cares about how I feel. Number three, too bad. Suck it up. Number four, why are you crying? Number five, you are a crybaby. Number six, stop being emotional. How many of you have ever heard that one? Number six, stop acting like a female. That's a direct insult to the masculinity of our men. Direct hit below the belt. Stop acting like a female. The thing that shuts up our men and keeps them from talking. Reject it. You are weak. You are soft. And then for our women, stop being so aggressive or so manly. These are some of the sayings. Once again, that is a direct hit, a direct attack on your femininity as a woman. And so that will shut you up. So you have to reject these common sayings. And I'm sure there's more. If there's more, please let us know. Let's start us a list of those sayings that we need to reject. Be bold and courageous in rejecting them. The reason you have to be bold and courageous in rejecting these sayings is because they lead to death. They lead to death because they get you to silence yourself. They get you to shut up and to not say anything. And then what does that lead to? It leads to depression. Why? Because depression is a cycle of negative thoughts and feelings leading to this cycle of this display of negative behaviors. And then what is one of the major things that people who are depressed struggle with? That would be suicidal ideation. So thoughts of harming yourself, thoughts of taking your life. So that sounds like death to me. So we cannot play with these sayings. They're very common sayings. You may not even think about it in the moment, but we're always absorbing what we hear. And so if you keep hearing this, you will keep thinking this. This will produce negative emotions that will lead to negative behaviors and that will lead to death. We have decided that we're going to live. And so these are common sayings that we have to reject that will keep us out of emotional bondage. Now it's your turn. So you know what to do. Grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's start building our new mindset.
Restore Heart TD.
Life is a journey, and there are many moments. Some moments are smooth. You flow through them effortlessly. There are other moments when life's challenges interrupt your momentum, yet you find the strength to get back on track, to keep moving. So even if you have to crawl to make it there, do it, because victory belongs to you. You are equipped to handle every part of the journey. You were created to overcome this. Don't give up. I love you.